All right, I'm standing here with the victor from our last match. It is SpyderSlayer. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what went on, because this was a rematch for you. Last year, Youmacon 2013, in the, I believe it was the third place match, you versus Yoshi. It was a best of 5, and it went to all 5 games. And it was a long series, tiring series. I know you were tired, he was tired. We talked about that at the time. But it didn't.
Actually went to a best of 7. Went to a best of 7, I think. Because we agreed on the 5, and then it went all the way to the 7, I think.
It went a lot of games, and both players were tired, but everybody wanted to wrap it up. But it didn't end up going in your favor. But today, you look a lot different. You looked a lot more in control. You looked a lot more crisp. Tell me about how you prepared, knowing that eventually throughout this tournament you were going to end up facing Yoshi again.
Well, I know he's pretty scared of those early roaches. That's kind of the basic things. Lets me set up other things that I want to do. And that worked out pretty well in that first game. I was able just to set him there and then build what I wanted to build and pull him all over the map. I got a map that I like, and so that worked out well in that game. The second game went the same way. It's just, I don't know, I just let him slowly build too much, and I had enough money and everything. I don't think he had that much money, but I just didn't keep it together, really. That was kind of the problem.
So let's step through the games real quick. There were a couple key points we wanted to talk about. I mean, it seems like in game 1, we had kind of talked yesterday, I think. You said swarm hosts are going to be kind of a big thing for you going into Terran Mech. You seem to hit a pretty good timing. Right when Yoshi kind of wanted to expand into his 3rd or 4th is right when you came out with those with the swarm hosts, and then you also complemented it with the Mutalisks and controlled everything really well in such a way to where you were able to kind of pick things apart slowly. I mean, what process did you have to sort of execute that?
Well, I want to thank the GM player, Dusht Schneider, for that, because that was one of the builds that he uses against Mech, and he uses the Mutalisk to pull things where he wants to, and then the Swarm Host to pick things up, because Mech's a little bit slower, and it takes a little bit of time to get where you want to go and to defend everything, and you need kind of all your army there set up right. So that that worked out well, and I thank him for that build. I'm not a huge fan of Vipers. You can sit there and play a 4-hour game with Vipers and win, but I don't like that, and I don't know, it's not very fun at all. It's very long and frustrating, and it just takes forever. I don't like that at all, so I'm glad of the build that kind of pulls him my way. It's kind of more my style of playing.
So then let's step forward into game number 2. You started off really smooth and kind of doing the same thing, same kind of build, same kind of shoving and pushing, and you had a nice little contain setup, but then you seemed to start to slip a little bit, like you seemed to get a little bit sloppy. You lost several batches of pretty expensive units. You lost a couple batches of Vipers, a couple Hunter-Seeker missiles on some Banelings. Explain a little bit of what you were thinking and how comfortable you were, or what happened that kind of like set that gear in motion.
Well, he went very heavy on the defensive air, and I didn't do the opposite of that and go heavy in the swarm host. I only built a few swarm hosts, not enough to really pull him where I wanted, and that was the big mistake. Not good creep spread to defend. It was just several mistakes that allowed him to claw his way into splitting the map and eventually just overwhelming. I had more resources than he did by far. I had everything I needed to do, but just not enough swarm hosts to really punch through what I needed to do, make him make the units that I want him to make. I just kind of let him have his way and build the units that he wanted to make. And when you let a mech player build what he wants to build, you're going to lose eventually. So.
We kind of talked about game 3 a little bit, but it seemed like the moment that sealed the deal. I mean, you talked about, you don't really care for Vipers all that much. You don't really, you're not maybe the best with them. But it's like the moment that triggered the GG in game number 3 was when the 2 Vipers flew in and just yanked the 2 tanks right off the high ground, right into your Locust. How'd that make you feel?
That made me feel pretty good. I built the 2 Vipers just because I could. I had the money and everything, and I'm like, oh, the Vipers, okay. And then they're floating there, and I see them. I'm like, oh, these are gonna be really great for all these tanks that are up there on that ridge. And the game was already won at that point. I thought I had way more bases. You could never get out. But it was nice to see those. I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be great for this. So it worked out well.
Cool. So that wrapped up that series. Definitely big congratulations beating Yoshi. That was a notch in your hat that you would have wanted to achieve for a